All right, that's probably enough.
That's good. Nice. Amazing. Holy cow. I was saying, I wonder if anybody thought this would be on their bingo card for a Monday, that you are giving them a private concert. So, welcome to everybody in the chat. I see a ton of friends coming in. We'll let everybody fill in. But I am Jason. I am the host of the Tech Commute, and I am very excited and very honored to be hanging out this morning with the one and only Quincy Larson, teacher and founder of freeCodeCamp. While he gets his background set up here, I'll let him introduce himself in a minute. Let's see what he picks today. I'm curious. I'm curious what inspires your backgrounds. What do you pick, Quincy?
I pick mostly awesome retro arcade games.
I
Just let
love
them
it.
play in attract mode. I'm a huge fan of this game. Elevator Action Returns. There's a Saturn version, which I guess was I chose. I said I
Oh,
only had
that's
the
awesome.
arcade version. But yeah, I just uh, I just like retro video games and retro video game soundtracks. And each week on the podcast, I record like kind of a 1 minute cover of a theme from like maybe Dr. Mario or Kirby or like a Sonic song or, deeper cuts from games you've never heard of. So, yeah.
That's crazy. Have you always been into gaming? Been a gamer?
Yeah. I mean, like nowadays, I don't really have time to play games. So, music is
Sure.
kind of the
Yeah.
way I
Yeah.
experience the games because I spent many years playing video games as a kid and as an adult. Um, yeah, but like these days, like the real game for me is like learning how to, play everything tight and in rhythm and like memorizing the parts for like all the different instruments and stuff and then being able to perform them in one take.
Sure.
One take per instrument. I don't like jump from
Yeah. Oh,
instrument for like
yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, like being able to do that, and then and that's kind of like my latest challenge.
That's
I think,
awesome. Well, you
yeah,
got to keep challenging yourself. And let's settle this debate here. Were you a Sega or a Nintendo guy?
I actually didn't have a Sega, or I didn't have a Nintendo Entertainment System as a kid. I had what's called the Sega Master System, which came out about the same time,
Yes.
very big in Brazil, because Brazil had like certain export like restrictions, and like Sega was manufacturing the Sega Master System in Brazil. So the lifespan of the Brazil, like the Sega Master System, went into the mid '90s. Basically, people were still playing the system when in the US everybody upgraded to like Sega Genesis. But yeah, I didn't get a Nintendo until like probably like 1991 or something like that.
Okay.
But for the first few years, I was just playing Sega Master System.
We were a Sega house, so I
Okay.
had the Master System. I went to Genesis, and what was it then? Saturn, then Dreamcast, right? I think it went in that order.
Yeah, that's the correct sequence.
Yeah.
Because you missed 32X.
Oh yeah, no, and actually I did, and I was so bummed I didn't get it. Like I had a couple buddies that had it. So what was it? Doom? Did Doom come out? It was
Yeah,
Doom
they had
32X. Yeah.
32X Doom. Terrible
Uh,
controls.
oh
I
yeah,
mean,
it was
it's not
so
as
bad.
bad as the Super Nintendo version, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, we digress, but I love talking. I mean, I could talk about video games this whole time.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, why don't you give the people what they want and give them a little introduction? Who
Yeah,
are
sure.
you?
So I'm Quincy Larson. I'm a teacher at freeCodeCamp. I founded freeCodeCamp back in 2014, so more than 10 years ago.
Wow.
It's just a charity that creates open learning resources. So mostly just open source coding curricula. We also publish a lot of videos on YouTube. For example, we publish courses on a broad range of topics like uh, AutoCAD, FL Studio, prompt engineering, and all kinds of like advanced stuff like with PyTorch training models and stuff like that. And then mainly it's just like a lot of Python and a lot of JavaScript because I think those are like those high level scripting languages are power tools that people are building apps with and getting jobs with.
Oh, you pixelated on me a little bit there. I hope my
Oh,
signal's
I've
all
got a
right.
great
No,
internet
you.
connection.
I know. I
Fast.com.
thought. I thought I did too.
I've
It
got
seems like
700
it's good
megabits
now.
per second.
Nice. Um, so wow, 2014, that's a long time ago when you think about it. What were you doing before Free Code Camp? Like I kind of want to get into the process of where that even like came to fruition.
Yeah. Yeah, so I worked as a teacher and a school
Mm,
director for about a decade, like tutoring and teaching all throughout college and grad school. And I did grad school in China, and I worked, like for factories, like giving factory tours and stuff in
Mm,
Chinese, and then also like teaching Brazilian engineers that were working at these companies like English for engineers. And then when I came back to the States, my wife was my grad school classmate, and it took a few years to get a green card for her to come over to the U.S. or to get it. We got like the K visa. If anybody
mm.
knows anything about like immigration rules, but basically we got the K visa. We brought her over. She got her green card basically immediately because we already waited so long. So we and then I didn't know what I was going to do, and I had like a pretty generalist background. Like I worked as a journalist for a while, like at newspapers, just print news, basically. Like I don't know if anybody still consumes that, but
Yeah.
then I wanted to get more skills, so I went to China and studied Chinese and did grad school there. So anyway, we were back in the U.S. and then I applied for like a bunch of school director type jobs and got one. And so I ran schools in the U.S. and in China before I ultimately learned to code to just make my school more efficient. And just it turns out some very basic Python scripting skills were incredibly useful at a big kind of old Japanese school system. And I was able to just swim circles around all the other schools in the system because I had these scripts and stuff that were essentially like additional administrators. Essentially, I created like additional workers doing different tasks so the other workers could focus more on teaching and focus on hanging out with the students and everything. And I was just like blown away by like how even the most rudimentary programming skills that can be learned just googling around and trying things in the dark by some guy who doesn't didn't really even know like how routers worked or anything. Just like he just had a very clear mandate to like make things more efficient so that the school would be better. That very pragmatic approach to programming proved incredibly effective. And that's when I like was like, man, I really need to learn how to program properly because this is just incredibly useful. So I did that. I did a bunch of hackathons around California. I won some, and then I used that as like kind of like my reputation in to get my first developer job. Worked as a developer for about a year. Then I just took on a bunch of freelance clients and said, I want to build my own projects, and I moved to San Francisco, which wasn't very far from like, I was living in Santa Barbara. So I just would stay on my friend's couch in San Francisco and I would just go to like even more hackathons, do more stuff. And while I was building different projects and project after project, nobody cared. Like I'd post it on Hacker News and maybe get like 50 upvotes, which is great if you
Yeah.
can do that. And then eventually I hit on a project that people did care about, and that was freeCodeCamp. And then I've just
Oh.
like as soon as I got traction, there's just saying one in the hand is worth two in the bush. I think one in the hand is worth like 100,000 in the bush. Like if you actually get something, you should drop everything and you should focus completely on that one thing that is working. In my humble
Hmm.
opinion, I've seen way too many people take their eyes off the ball and lose the momentum and lose the traction and lose the moment. And yeah, like I think that just continuing to double down. Like I had $150,000 that I saved as a teacher. Like that's like years of teaching salary, and I was
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
side hustling, buying and selling old video games and selling them on eBay and stuff like that. So I built up this nest egg. We were going to use it as a down payment on a house, and my wife was super chill about it. And we basically burned through that $150,000 just getting my friends to like contribute to the code.
Mm.
Like open source was great, but we did need a few people to like do DevOps and servers and stuff like that. And some of it was beyond my skills at the time. So yeah, like eventually after like 3 years, we got tax exempt status and we started accepting donations. And since then, we've been donor funded. Uh,
Wow.
so yeah, it's like in a nutshell, that's what happened. If
Yeah.
anybody
No.
has a camp,
Oh wow! I'm watching the comments here, and everybody's talking about like their first free code camp experience. Free code camp is so influential on so many people's tech journeys. Um, when you started it, like what was ultimately the goal of it? I feel like it's evolved in the decade it's been around now, but when you started it, what was the initial thoughts? Like what was the plan?
education wants to be free. I've always felt that education should be free. It's a universal human right. And not only should it be free, but it should be high quality. And I think it's, like I've mellowed out a lot. Like I used to be like a hardcore idealist, like anti for profit education. You hear about like these schools that are basically just stealing people's GI Bill money,
Yeah.
getting them way into debt with federal student loans that, or even private student loans that they're maybe never going to be able to repay. Like I was just incredibly frustrated by that, and so that was what drove me further down the rabbit hole of free education. And there have been like lots of people over the years who've been like idealists in this, and I wanted to be like somewhat practical. So I have become a little more practical and less like fire and brimstone. But like for me, it was just like the extreme frustration with the fact that trillion plus dollars spent on higher education in the United States, and like what do we have to show for it? Like it didn't feel like we had a lot outside of like fancy research universities that like really just served like the PhD student. Like, yeah, it's a great school if
Yeah.
you're trying to get your H number really high, right? Or if you're trying to impress your parents from abroad or something like that. But like the actual learning was like not worth a fraction of what you were paying. Like to go sit in a lecture hall with some old dude who won some prize many decades ago and listen to him as he's talking to his whiteboard and stuff, right? Like, I mean, that's probably not a fair characterization of higher ed, but like I was pretty pissed about it, especially because I knew that there were lots of like in California there were great community colleges that didn't have like all the prestige or anything, but we're preparing tons of people to go work in engineering. So
Mm.
like Cal Poly, for example, it's like a vocational school, and then you had like lots of like the California State University schools that were pretty inexpensive. And then like once you stepped outside of California, it just went crazy in terms of the prices.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like California did a great job of creating that community college system, and it's like the jewel of like economical education, like for the United States. And so I was very inspired by what they were doing in terms of just keeping costs really low and keeping things really chill, and not having these luxurious fancy campuses and stuff with like climbing walls and lazy rivers and all the things you hear about when you hear about like educational excess. And like a lot of people are like thought I was like a Philistine or a curmudgeon, but I just did not believe in the college experience. I did not believe in like spending a fortune on having like a football coach and like all
Yeah.
these other things.
Yeah.
And I was like, education can be so much more, but it's just trapped in this old paradigm. It could just be people like learning throughout their lives and not feeling like they have to like sign up for some grad school when they're like 35 years old because they need to renew their skills or something. Like you can just renew your skills continuously.
Yeah.
And we have information is infinitely reproducible. I mean, Wikipedia really just lays a trail with like reference. And then what freeCodeCamp, what we wanted to do was Wikipedia for structured learning. Like, what if what you're trying to learn isn't just something you can read an article? What if it's a hierarchical series of skills that build upon one another, like mathematics, right? You're not going to learn mathematics from reading. You're going to learn mathematics from doing a whole bunch of math.
Yeah.
And you need evaluation criteria. You need like some form of interactive curriculum, even if that's just like flipping to the back of the textbook and checking the answer there and checking your comprehension there. You need some feedback loop, and why not just create like an interactive math curriculum or an interactive coding curriculum. And so that's what we set out to do, and we did that with English as well because I was frustrated at how expensive it is to learn English as a second language, and like how much profiteering there is around English education when really like you can learn a lot just by doing interactive software.
Yeah, wow. I love that. Again, I'm just reading through some of the comments here. If anybody has any questions for Quincy, feel free to drop them too. We'll make sure we get to those. So, again, the span of over a decade now. What was what at the beginning? What were some of the hurdles that you sort of had to overcome to kind of get this traction? And or did you just see a rapid scaling of this community? Because I mean, how many people do you have in the community now, would you say, in the free code camp community?
About a million people use it every day in some form or
Wow.
another. So that's like that includes like the articles. That includes
Yeah.
like if you factor in the YouTube channel, it's well over a million. But like we're touching more than a million people a day. And most of those people are just like learning, rudimentary programming skills, like their
Yeah.
first Python programming skill. But you can go as high as you want. We've got incredibly advanced like black box AI engineering type courses, or no black box rather, taught by a math professor from Finland, right? We've got tons of more esoteric topics on like DevOps and stuff,
Mhm.
and we want to be like a go-to resource for career-long learning, lifelong learning. But yeah, I could keep answering, but I hope that answers your
Yeah,
question. A
no,
lot of
no, no. We did have a question, Jeff, dropping in. If you could go back to the beginning, would you change anything about the process or like how it started?
Yeah, I mean, I would change like a ton of stuff because I've learned a ton of
Yeah.
stuff over the years. One thing we're doing now is we're just having a single large certification instead of a lot. And I think
Mm,
that was one of the smarter things we did was we had like a progression, like a linear progression, like, hey, start here and go through here. Like a lot of the other websites would just have like, oh, learn Ruby. Okay, now learn some Python. Oh, learn some SQL. And it's like there's no order, or it's just a bunch of disparate modules and you have to figure out what to do. And figuring out what to do is fun, but it also is incredibly time consuming. And my advice to learners, if you want to learn to program, don't just feel your way out and like, okay, what's the right thing to learn? Oh, should I learn this? Don't spend a bunch of time on like Hacker News or Reddit, like our programming, like, oh, should I learn Rust? Like so like, no, like, just focus on a few key skills and follow a linear curriculum. And of course, I'm biased. FreeCodeCamp has thousands of people that have contributed to it. It is kind of like a wisdom of the crowds, and it represents what employers actually hire for. If you go on Indeed.com and you plug in JavaScript, or you plug in SQL, or you plug in Linux, or you plug in Python, or like these things, that's where the jobs are. There are some jobs associated with Rust, and there are some jobs associated with like learning more esoteric databases and stuff like that, or but um, like I would recommend just starting at the top of freeCodeCamp and going all the way down. And so one of the things we learned was by having a whole lot of certifications, people would like say, "Oh, I want to do the data visualization," but they wouldn't necessarily be ready. And then they jump in and they're like, "Oh, this is too hard," and they just go Alt Tab over to something else, or they
yeah.
give up on programming for a while. Like by having everything in a single linear curriculum and just having it under one certification, so we just have the certified full stack developer certification, and that is what we push everybody to now because that like a lot of people might be like, I don't really want to learn CSS or whatever. Like, okay, you need to learn some,
Yeah.
even if you're not going to spend a lot of time. You need to understand at least how it works, and it's not that big of a time investment and stuff like that. But you definitely encounter a lot of people that are like, oh, I just want to do back end engineering. I don't want to learn all this. Like, there's very little cost to learning how the full stack works and appreciating what's going on, and not just being on your own silo, passing, characters through the Chinese wall, so to speak.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm curious because we do obviously you see it, especially on social media and in all over the industry, that shiny object syndrome. Somebody else mentioned it over here in the chat too. But
Yeah.
how do you personally kind of keep head down in things and avoid those distractions or all the other possibilities, the Rusts or the Rubies, and just kind of stay on task?
I mean, like a lot of people just, I mean, look at the actual work that people are doing. Uh, like Peter Levels, the
Mm,
prolific indie hacker, he just uses the same tools he's used for like the last 15, 20 years. No, I basically use the same tools that I've gotten comfortable with over the last 10, 15 years. And a lot of people like there are major production apps that are written in languages you would think wouldn't scale. Like Python doesn't scale to like, but actually it works fine. You can do stuff in Django and you can figure out a way to scale it, right? Like you don't necessarily need. You can of course squeeze a lot more performance if you want to learn like Golang or Rust, or if you want to like just go like with a high performance language and do some, like high performance computing in like C and C++ or something like that. But like I think people greatly overestimate like performance as I
mm.
think like security is not overestimated. Like that is important, and there are inherent like security trade offs with learning different things. But I would just say whatever tools you feel comfortable with, whatever tools the best tools to learn are the ones that everybody else is learning because there's going to be a ton of documentation. There's going to be a ton of people you can ask for help. There's going to be a ton of Stack Overflow posts. If you're using LLMs to learn, the training data is going to include a ton of tutorials on JavaScript and Python. Like I'm pretty sure, like all of freeCodeCamp's 12,000 plus text-based tutorials have been read by GPT 4.0, for example. Um, so, despite the fact that we have like a robot text like no crawl type thing, but I don't think that they respect that. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about shiny object syndrome. Like nothing is really new under the sun. Like if you look at most of the things that you really need to learn to be a software engineer, most of the math was figured out like at least 500 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like time of doing stuff. A lot of the computer science concepts were like from the 40s, 50s, 60s. Like Alan Turing was working on that stuff.
Mhm.
Like a lot of the breakthroughs we've had in neural networks are from like the 80s and 90s. That was just now that we have like all the data and the compute to throw at them to actually get these ridiculously good models and stuff. The actual fundamental theory hasn't changed that much. Yes, there are like a few new papers that you could read and stuff like that. A lot of people complain about their computer science degree, like, oh, it feels like I'm just learning a bunch of old crap. I want to learn the new stuff. The old crap's important.
No, that's
All
so
the new
true.
stuff is basically
Yeah.
like newfangled, like kind of like upgrades,
Hmm.
point release on top of the old stuff to a large extent. Like I always tell people, if you just know SQL, Python, Linux, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and maybe some Git. That's pretty important. Like if you know those things, you can go work as a dev at like most places, and maybe they'll have some some legacy code base that's written in like C# or something. You just learn it. I mean, it's not that
Hmm.
hard if you already know a couple of programming languages to learn the third one.
Nice. I want to know. So you mentioned that you've expanded that initial like full stack certification program. What is the next steps? Like, what would be a good workflow for somebody to start from Free Code Camp to getting a job? Is everything built into that? Like, when they're done and they get that certification, are they job ready? Or maybe what are a couple
Very few
other
people
things?
actually finish the certification before they get a job.
Interesting.
Yeah, because
Interesting.
we like err on the side of like dramatically overtraining people,
Mm,
because like we like make it like Dark Souls hard. Basically, we really want people to struggle when they're learning, so they can not have such a hard time when they finally get a job. But the limit most people experience to getting a job is not a skills based; it's like a
mm.
network and reputation based. So I like to say, like if you read my book, if you just Google learn to code book. It should be like one of the top results. But it's a free book. I put it on, like all out there. I even have an audiobook version that I read if you don't like to read and you want to go for a jog and listen to it. But there are three legs to the stool. Skills, the obvious one, the one that takes by far the most time, like probably 10 times as much time, should be dedicated to learning the skills as the other two legs. But the other legs are network and reputation. And
Mm.
frankly, like if you're not spending time on your network and your reputation, it does not matter how good your skills are. It's going to be a struggle to get a job, and it'll frankly be a struggle to get a job anyway, because it's always been a struggle to get a job. People have always complained about it being hard to get a job. You'll hear people talking about how it's like impossible to get a job. Well, if you go back like 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, you still find lots of instances of people applying to like hundreds of jobs before they started getting offers and stuff like that. It is harder now than it was pre-pandemic, I would say,
Mm.
because like it was like zero interest. Like a lot of companies were just stockpiling developer talent and stuff like that. So it is harder, but there are certainly plenty of jobs. Like you go on Indeed.com, which again I'm not sponsored by them, but I think it's a pretty good comprehensive. It's a good litmus for like whether people care about like a
Mm.
specific technology. So type JavaScript developer, and you'll see like 50,000 open jobs or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like these are not necessarily individual job, they're job listings, okay? But that still probably represents many thousands of jobs that you could, in theory, apply to, and if you met their qualifications, get the job. But you also have to be able to communicate that you're the right person. You probably want to know people, so you're not just dropping an application into a thing. So getting a job is a fuzzy thing. Like FreeCodeCamp can help you with the skills, but building your network, building your reputation, that's like beyond the scope of what we do. We don't work with recruiters. We certainly looked into doing this stuff, but we decided like a long time ago we just want to focus on helping people get the skills and
Awesome.
continue to expand their skills.
Yeah. No, which obviously Free Code Camp definitely does. I mean, you've got a wildly popular community. Where do you, I guess those other two pillars of the three, where are you kind of suggesting that people go to maybe start to learn that or just get
Yeah.
better at it?
Yeah. Well, for reputation, like just code in public, publish a
Mm,
lot of stuff, blog, uh, take projects you built and share them on various social media outlets. There's so many of them now, like Blue Sky,
hmm
Twitter. I like even just like a short on YouTube or Instagram or something. Like video demos that are like 30 seconds long just work really well in terms of getting people to be like, oh, what's this? Oh, cool. And it's like my humble advice is whenever you build something, don't just throw it up on GitHub. Like, here's the README if you want to clone it and get all this. Like, people are too busy for that. But if you create a short video and you share that, then people can just watch it real quick. I mean, you could put it on TikTok. Who cares? Like wherever, right? And then people are seeing it and they're like, "Oh, interesting. That's cool. I didn't know you could do that." And then they're like, "Who's this person?" And they're like, "Oh, okay." And that's how you build a reputation. If you have like I don't know 5,000 people following you on TikTok, that is something to an employer. Like, oh, okay. That is like what they're looking for is signal that you're somebody who actually cares about programming. You're not
Mm,
just somebody who like swooped in from Wall Street and heard they could make better money as a developer, and so like attended like some intensive program, and like now they're a developer and they're trying to get a job at, like there have definitely been like a lot of those fair weather types like trying to get into tech, and I think with the market the way it is, people who actually invest the time and energy are going to be the ones that recoup, like the like get back the time and energy they like essentially. If you think about it this way, there's an investment period where you're learning all this stuff, and then there's like a long kind of annuity type payback period where you're working as a dev for like 20 or 30 years, and you're reaping all the rewards from that in terms of financial security and benefits if you're here in
yeah,
the U.S.
yeah.
And just like the agency you feel, being able to tell like I never tell somebody like people ask me, oh, what do you do? They don't necessarily know who I am or like know about freeCodeCamp, and I just say, oh, I'm a software engineer, and I never hear somebody say, oh, you're just a software engineer. Who cares about that? Like people are always excited. They're like, oh, damn, that's
Mm,
awesome. They're impressed. Software engineers command a great deal of respect in society. People know it's hard intellectual work and that you're like being creative all day, and they also know that it's like a well paid like job where you have a high degree of agency. Like if you look at the Fortune 500, like all those tech companies, the person who runs them, they're all software engineers, right? Like all the big tech companies are like
mm,
they know that like that is a proven path to like creating value, I guess, within society, and that's a very there's work ways of looking at that. I mean, you could say for-profit education is creating a ton of value in terms of like they've got like a market cap of XYZ or something like Chegg, the textbook company that like kind of merged into like or transformed into like a homework cheating company essentially, and they got destroyed when GPT was like a much more efficient cheating machine. Like I don't think a lot of love was lost there, but like so I just want to be clear. I'm not like some capitalist type like I'm not the type of person who says like, "Oh, they made a whole lot of money, therefore they must be doing something good." I mean, Smithers made a lot
yeah.
of Smithers and Mr. Burns made a lot of money on The Simpsons, right? Skirting regulations and stuff like that. So
It's part of the economy sometimes. I mean, I totally get it. Also, shout out to The Simpsons. Nice call on that one. Love The Simpsons. Been a long
fun
time since
fact
I've
about The
watched it.
Simpsons: a lot of people didn't
Well,
know this, and I didn't know this myself. Why are The Simpsons yellow?
I don't know why is that.
Okay, so this is something that I was stunned. It's really simple. So Matt Goering, I'm not sure
Yeah,
Goring,
something like
Goring.
that. Something
Yeah,
like
like
that.
I apologize. You're a visionary, like cartoonist and creator, and I cannot pronounce your last name. I could go to Google and look it up and probably memorize it, but I haven't bothered. Sorry. So he knew that people were like flipping through. It's a UX thing, right? People are
Mhm.
flipping through the channels. They're just like, what am I going to watch? What am I going to watch? And he knew that the way to arrest people's attention for even a moment was if you make their think that their TV might be broken or something. So you color them yellow, and then they're like, "What's going on with my TV?" Going up and slapping it, and like in the 30 or 40 seconds it takes for them to get up off their lazy boy and like sit down the remote and go and like hit the TV, maybe they would see something on The Simpsons, like they'd see a joke and they'd laugh, and they say, "I'm going to keep watching this." It's as
That's
simple as that. It was just like
wow.
a little hack to try
Wow.
to like capture people's attention, even a tiny bit of people's attention,
That's
right?
crazy. That wow. So I guess thinking about that, like, what does Free Code Camp do to get people's attention? Do you need to do anything anymore? Because it's
So
just such a large community.
for a long time, we didn't really need to do anything because everybody's like, "Oh, learn to code." Like it's obvious. Like, oh, you should just
Yeah.
go learn to code. Like if you're looking for like a remunerative job where you have a high degree of agency, you can be creative, you can solve interesting problems all day. Like a lot of people, like the most commonly studied major in the United States was accounting for a long time. It may still be accounting, and the whole thing is, oh, it's a stable job. You know, there's always going to be like taxes. There's always going to be, you know, money flowing around that needs to be accounted for.
Hmm.
And it's I'm just looking for a job that I can not have to live with my parents for the next 20 years. And you know, people crave stability, right? And so programming for a long time was seen as one of those areas you could go that was really stable. But over the past few years, it's kind of like experienced this. There's this cloud over it, and that is it's going to take all our jobs, right? It's like people think that lay people think that like AI is just going to dramatically reduce demand for developers, and that you know you don't even need to learn to code anymore. You can just vibe code, and you'll be able to build whatever. And so why would you need to hire a developer? Developers have always kind of been seen as a cost center by a lot of the like less technical folks that don't understand or appreciate what developers are actually doing. So now it is a little bit harder, and we do have to like uh, reassure people like these are
Hmm.
actually good jobs that are going to continue to exist because there are lots of misconceptions. And like what I like to say is people who are worried about automation, like automating software engineering
Yeah.
to the point that we don't need a lot of software engineers. I would say like who do you think is doing the automation? Like by definition, automation will be the last thing that gets fully automated, right? And that's going to be developers. So, like everything else is going to get automated before software engineering. So in fact, if you're worried about automation, you should be going to software engineering as a field. So at least you can help with the automation process, and then maybe we have like this utopia where people don't have to work, and it's the Jetsons where work is going into the plant and pressing the button, and that's your job, and then you just kick back and let all the machines do all the work, right? Like it's not new. Like
Yeah.
people have been talking about like post, you know, automation, like you know, utopias and stuff for like hundreds of years, basically, because I mean, you look at farming, it's been largely automated. It's like heavily mechanized and even automated to the sense that like you just have drones and you have going out and dusting crops. You've got tractors that drive themselves. You know, you've got all this stuff. And as a farmer, in at least in the United States, you're more a manager of
Mm.
processes and gear, and like looking at analytics dashboards and making decisions. It's not about you going around and like dragging a plow and putting seeds in the ground, and you know, like it's way scaled up. And a single
Hmm.
farmer, you know, might be able to maintain 100x the territory that a comparable farmer 100 years ago might have been in. And that's going to come for other industries. Like there will be like probably fewer jobs in every industry in the future, I think, except for maybe like certain like I heard it put one way, like there's always going to be the desire for somebody to beat somebody else at a video game. So like maybe pro gamer will be the last, like your job will be to be like farmer gold for some important person or something like wherever there's artificial scarcity, you can potentially create jobs, right?
Wow.
But anyway, I'm going like way out of my area of
No,
expertise. I'm
no, it's
a
awesome,
labor
man.
market economist. I'm not some futurist. I am just a software engineer and a teacher. But like I'm just kind of extrapolating. Like I'm trying to understand why people think that. But it has been there's a drag. Like whenever I publish a podcast,
Mm.
like people are always in the comments. You're giving people false hope. There are no jobs left. You know, there's always those people in the comments, and they're always
Yeah.
there. And it's not like it's just the same person every time. There's clearly this kind of growing groundswell of like, oh, developers learning to code, learning to build software engineering as a whole, it's over. Game over, man.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the
Game
vibe I
over,
get.
man.
So yeah, we're getting less organic traffic as a result of
Mm.
that. We're getting less interest. Like it's more like just like the hardcore people are coming now. It's less the kind of curious people because the narrative has been kind of like driven in the direction of, oh, it's not worth learning to code. And you see Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, saying, oh, don't teach your kids to learn to code. It's a pointless exercise. The software, AI is going to do everything for them. You see Mark Zuckerberg do this. You see who else has done this? Of course, Sam Altman. Like anybody
Yep,
who
yep.
benefits financially from AI, they're going to overhype the capabilities of AI, and they're going to like Facebook basically saying they're not going to hire any more devs, and they're just going to focus on automating devs. It's just freaking stock market posturing and stuff. It's
Yeah.
not real. Like I don't think that like they're going to have a good product, and I don't think they're going to be able to maintain systems. They may be able to scale back their workforce a little bit, but that's like if they retain a whole bunch of like 100x developers, and I do believe
Hmm.
there is that kind of skill differential that like it's possible to be dramatically more productive than the average person, and it's probably perhaps more possible to do that in software than it is in a lot of other fields.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a business, of course. They want the consumer to follow their advice. Yeah, spot on there. Coda Girl came in and said, "We always need good developers and problem solvers that will never be replaced by AI." I agree with that, and I guess I want to ask you, Quincy, is how do developers stay in that lane of being the good developers and problem solvers so that they have a little bit of job security? Is that even a thing anymore? Is job security a thing anymore?
I mean, like I can tell you that like freeCodeCamp staff has basically just been the same, 30 or so people for like 4 or 5 years at this point. Like
Hmm.
we kind of gradually built up, and it's just the same people because the cost of replacing somebody and like bringing on a new person and getting them acclimated with the code base and the organizational communication style and all that stuff is high. I think most managers, given the choice, would rather just retain people long term because there's like there's like a switching cost associated with getting a new
Mm.
person, onboarding them, and it's risky. Managers just want to basically like their entire job is to mitigate risk. And one of the ways you can mitigate risk is just have like really solid people who know what they're doing, who have been there for a while and know these complex systems that you're building. So I do think job security is absolutely there. I think there are a lot of highly publicized layoffs, but the total number of
Mm.
developers in the world that are professional was probably at least 20,000 people, or I'm sorry, 20 million people. It may have gotten as high as 30 million people, but it may be closer to like 20, 25 million now because there have been layoffs and stuff. But I mean, like most of those people are probably still at their jobs, right?
Yeah.
Like even if we contracted like 25%, that still means 75% of people are still at their developer jobs. So I do believe that there's job security there.
Yeah, nice. I want to get to my buddy Mike, current Twitch username. He's about to be a dad within the next couple days, and he
Very
was
cool.
wondering, what does your parenting skill tree stack look like?
So that's an excellent question. So I am a parent of a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. I like to joke that if my daughter had been born 1 year earlier, free camp wouldn't exist because having a kid is incredibly
Yeah.
cognitively intensive, labor intensive, and of course you're sleeping like almost nothing basically. Like I was just waking up constantly, change diapers, uh, to rock the baby, just to keep them down. Basically, sleeping as much as
Hmm.
possible, happy so they can grow, and yeah, just addressing all their needs. And definitely, Mike, my heart goes out to you. Like, be sure to get lots of sleep and take care of yourself, and try to clear your schedule for at least a month or two if you can. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, uh, parenting skills. I'll tell you, like, kind of like how we prioritize. It's not necessarily costly, but it does cost something. Our kids drink a ton of milk. I'm a huge believer in like drinking milk. I'm not a nutritionist or like a physician, let alone physician or anything like that. I'm just some guy that like I've observed that like drinking a lot of milk seems to be good for you, and getting a lot of exercise. Like so, we would take them like during the pandemic. All the schools were closed, and here in Texas, and I could take them over, and they just do like monkey bars all day, basically, and climb on stuff, and like just lots of physical activity. That doesn't cost anything, right? Like
Mm.
milk is actually pretty inexpensive. Like at least here in Texas at Walmart, it's like less than $3 for a gallon of it, vitamin D milk. So it's not like and that could be a huge portion of their calories, right? And then we prepare like brown rice. We give them a lot of fish in
Nice.
terms of like nutrients. Nutrients are huge. Getting them to sleep at like 8:30 every single night, and then they wake up automatically at 7. That's just how kids are. They're like roosters. So I'd say that's a big part of the parenting skill is figuring out how to like get your kids into a rhythm, and then like every Sunday we go to the library and we get like a new. We literally have this big milk crate. We just fill it up with books,
Nice.
bring it home, and the kids spend a lot of time reading. And we don't let them play Switch Monday through Friday, or like Monday through Friday morning. Then Friday night they can play Switch. My kids love building levels of Mario Maker and playing like
Awesome.
Zelda, Here's the Kingdom, and stuff like that. So like a lot of it is just structure. Every day they have an after school activity. They did robotics club for a while through the school. Basketball practice, which is not terribly expensive. Like here in Plano, Plano, Texas, where I live, they like the state essentially has like really good gyms and stuff, and they have like heavily subsidized by the state.
Of course.
Basketball camp, ballet, stuff like that, and then they both do chess and they both do piano, and that is through a private piano teacher. That is kind of expensive because we got this old Chinese lady that and my kids can speak Chinese and stuff too. That's another thing. So they do Chinese class, they do piano, they do chess, and then I take them swimming twice a week, and we swim laps. And then they just try to be really active physically. Like we want them completely burned out by the end of the day, so just hit the hay,
Yeah.
boom, just
Yeah.
collapse onto the bed. And so sleep, nutrition, and just keeping them busy the entire time have been my keys. Like I noticed they get really irritable if I let them play video games or watch like YouTube. My daughter loves watching like just silly YouTube videos. Um, and if they watch too much of that, they get kind of overstimulated. They start
Yep.
acting persnippety. Persnickety. I don't know what the word is, but they start pushing back. And
Yeah.
sometimes, if my son loses control, this does happen sometimes. He gets really angry. He starts shouting. I grab him and I take him to the room and I talk to him. And once he is calm enough to start taking deep breaths, then we do deep breaths together, and then he calms down. But I haven't had to do any sort of grounding or any sort of like, obviously, no corporeal punishment. I don't think that works at all. Like, I would never hit my kid, and I would encourage. I know some people are like old school, but like, I genuinely think that it can do some damage. And so it's just
Mm.
like communicating, and then I don't hold things back from them. Like, we talk a lot about space and the vastness, and they talk about like my son's obsessed with like black holes and the vastness of space and
Awesome.
the vastness of time and stuff like that, and like all that profound stuff. So like we just openly talk about the nature of reality. We talk about like geopolitics. We talk about war. We talk about all that stuff because I think it's important that kids grow up like I think having like a naive childhood, like where they're like shielded from everything. I think that's overrated personally because like that I don't think that was ever a thing in human prehistory. Anyway,
I, no, no,
I
no,
mean,
no.
people
I
like
don't think so
exposed
either.
to like all kinds of horrors throughout human history, and yes, you can have your like
Yeah.
little provincial childhood where the kid like has no idea that there's evil in the world and stuff like that, and just watches Disney movies and stuff. Even Disney movies have Cruella Deville and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Like trying to skin the puppies and stuff. So
Oh
I
yeah.
so I think that like yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. Like I hope that's helpful. That's my parenting skill stack is just keeping them busy, keeping them nourished, and keeping them sleeping.
I 1,000% agree and love all of that advice. Well, knowing that you're a parent and you run this million plus user community with Free Code Camp, like how do you balance all of that? Like the whole work life balance question comes into
Yeah.
play, but it's a lot on both sides. So how do you balance that?
So automation, or so I say automate and delegate so you can concentrate.
Mm,
And I do a lot of deep work. Just grab my laptop and sit down in like the chair that my wife used, like the nursing chair we call it. It's
mm.
like a rocking chair.
Oh
And I just
yeah.
sit up there and I just and I do a lot of deep work where I'm not like so I don't have any notifications on my phone. Even if somebody calls me, I just see that they called me later. And then like I only have a few tabs open at any given moment, and I just do everything to like basically focus. Um, like taking time to like learn keyboard shortcuts and things like that, so you don't have to constantly. I mean, I could go in, but like the actual work life balance stuff, I work about 40 hours a week, but I work like 6 hours a day. So I don't work 8 hours a day, but I work Saturdays and Sundays.
Hmm.
And I just found that that daily rhythm like works better. So and then I have like a lot of routine. Like you can see, I'm wearing my freeCodeCamp shirt. I wear my freeCodeCamp shirt every single day. On the weekends, I'll wear like a Kirby shirt or something like that, like maybe a Hello Kitty shirt or something like that, because I'm like going and swimming and stuff, and got my swim trunks on. But other days, I'm just in my freeCodeCamp shirt. I am eating pretty much the same protein-rich breakfast. Like I eat a ton of Greek yogurt and stuff, ton of fish, and then I'm just going to the gym, and I'm scheduling all my meetings in the morning, which I have the privilege of doing because most people are like, oh, okay, well, if I can meet with Quincy Larson, like I'll meet with him whenever he's available. So I do everything like weekday mornings,
Yeah.
and then weekend mornings is more deep work. But yeah, like I've just kind of structured it because I like the one thing I cannot do is burn out. Uh,
Yeah.
when a founder leaves an organization, that organization usually gets hijacked by some careerist people or some people that just want to like sell the company and maximize
Hmm.
their own benefits, don't care about the legacy of the organization or anything. Like there's a very profound difference between founder driven organizations where the founder's still around and organizations where the founder is checked out and you've got like some professional CEO. So I don't want to leave free cooking to the fate. I want to continue to, thrive in terms of
Hmm.
decent leader as long as possible. And if that's, until I'm like 80 or 90 is, if I'm able to live that long, like I'd like to do that.
Yeah, wow, that would be awesome. What do you see for Free Code Camp? I guess since we're kind of talking about the future of it now and like what your visions are, like where do you see it in the next 5 years? Are you expanding? Are you
Yeah,
looking at other things? Like what's the goals?
sure. So we've got the English curriculum, which is coming along great. We're going to start launching our own English certification exams, which will be
Mm,
free. That'll rival like Cambridge and like IELTS and TOEFL and all these other expensive ones that have these expensive training. Like education wants to be free. I want people to be able to learn English so they can work in the international like workspace. Like if you want to work in tech, you probably should learn English. It certainly is good to be good at your native language as well. But like we're seeing tons of interest from Brazilians, uh, people in like Ukraine,
mm,
people in lots of parts of the world. Like a lot of people that are already English speakers, but like a lot of people that aren't native English speakers. Lots of people in China and Japan and places like that are learning through Free Code Camp, and they're also making use of the English curriculum. So the English curriculum right now we've got all of A2 finished, and we're finishing
wow.
B1, and then we'll finish the CFR, like Common European Regulatory or like Framework. I can't remember what it stands for, but basically there's a standard that, and you can apply that to other languages. So we may teach in other languages. We'd like to teach Spanish for sure,
Awesome.
and then we're going to be cover have more AutoCAD related courses, like courses to learn different, tools that are used for
Hmm.
professional things. We'll continue to do those, but the core curriculum will just get more and more robust. So we're launching or we've already launched on Christmas. We launched the full stack certification exam. Uh, Most of that is done, and we're just going to finish filling that out. That should be done by fall. Like all the different modules, we're shipping the React module in a few weeks,
Awesome.
and then we're going to ship the Python module. Then we're going to ship the relational database module. Most of the stuff is actually already done and live. It's just not kind of like fit into the new certification, so it's all disparate. You can still find it and stuff, but like we're going and refining it. And this involves hundreds of projects.
Mm.
This involves dozens of quizzes and like I think at like 6 or 7 like exams, and you take them in our exam environment. And then a capstone project where you're going to get human feedback, not just AI
Oh
feedback, but you're
wow.
going to get humans actually reviewing your work, and then a final certification exam, which will be kind of like a proctored experience in a browser.
Wow. That's
Um,
huge.
It'll be
That's
comparable
huge.
to like the exams that you take if you get like a CompTIA cert, something like
Hmm.
that. And then we're doing the same thing with like the English, as I said. So we'd like to cover mathematics much more in depth and make sure that everybody can have like all of engineering mathematics like learned kind of async as they see fit. So we're just going to be doing a lot more math, programming, computer science, learning resources, and continuing to refine the ones. And then FreeCodeCamp is kind of famous for its extracurricular resources. The 2,000 or so video courses that we publish on the YouTube channel, and then the 12,000 plus text based tutorials, which includes many full length books that we publish. And so like my email newsletter that I send out each week, that just includes the stuff we publish that week, right? It's like
Wow.
the
Yeah.
velocity, the rate at which we're publishing, and we can do that because we're a giant open source community, um, where we have hundreds of contributors. It's not like if you're an individual creator, it's very hard to kind of keep that level of pace. And we work
Yeah.
very closely with a lot of individual creators, and they'll be like, "Hey, I created like a whole bunch of kind of short tutorials on Excel," and we'll be like, "Oh, okay, cool. Could we like anthologize those into like one kind of big course and then publish it, and then that will help raise awareness of your more specialized stuff that you're doing." So,
Hmm.
so we do those kinds of partnerships with lots of people who are creating as well. Yeah.
You
So,
mentioned. Oh,
let's say
sorry. Sorry to
to
interrupt you there.
answer the question, we're just going to do more
Yeah,
of what we've been
just
doing.
more.
But what we're doing works. Just creating the actual content. That's what we care about. Is just having a ton of open learning resources.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. You mentioned open source. How could people contribute to that, being that it is an open source platform? If they were interested, is there a specific way that they should do that?
Just go to contribute.freecodecamp.org,
Awesome. That is
and we
fantastic.
have comprehensive documentation. We've got lots of first timer only, GitHub issues that you can jump into. And if you're more experienced with GitHub and you don't need a first timer, we have lots of help on it as well. And one thing you can do is if you see something in the curriculum and you're like, is that supposed to be like that? That looks like it's a bug. Uh, Open a GitHub issue, and then and if you are so inclined, you can even open a pull request that would correct that. Now, our code base is pretty big and pretty complicated, but if you follow the contributor guides, you should be able to figure out where things are and figure out how to open a pull request.
Awesome. Well, we are. I just thank you to everybody that's been watching and tuning in today, and thank you to Quincy. We're almost at the end of the hour here. I feel like we could keep chatting forever, though. This has been really awesome. I've got two last questions, and I'm going
Sure.
to give you your time back here. What's one thing that you do for yourself for Quincy? You say it looks like you do tons for the family, tons for the Free Code Camp community, and all the other communities that you're involved in. But what's one thing that Quincy Larson does for Quincy Larson?
I mean, I just do music. I love music,
Yeah.
and like I've always loved music. I've always loved like jazz fusion, progressive rock, like all that stuff. A lot of old stuff from like the '60s, '70s, '80s,
Yeah.
and then a lot of the new stuff from Plano, Texas. Oh gosh, Polyphia, I think is the name of the band. Uh, yeah, they're here in Texas, and they do like really like ornate, kind of
Hmm.
elaborate, kind of clean tone guitar. It's not
Okay.
it's not a lot of distortion. So, but it's very elaborate, and I love that. So that would be like a recommend if you haven't heard Polyphia, check them out. And then like a lot of funk, uh, learning about music history, watching a lot of like Rick Beato's interviews on YouTube and stuff like that.
Wow.
Like what makes the song great, stuff like that. So like music. If I had like an entire week where I wasn't doing anything, I'd probably just spend it mostly listening to music and playing music, and trying to get better at like mixing, mastering, and just like the various instruments, like really just those four instruments that I do on the video. Those are the only ones that I think I'll have the bandwidth to learn. You won't see me
Yeah.
playing sax, but I want to get better. Is the thing. Like I can feel myself getting better with daily practice, and it gives me that sense of joy and pride that like I'm putting in the time and I'm getting the results. Because when the pandemic started, I didn't know anything about music really. I took a few piano lessons as a kid, but like really my capability was extremely limited. And like just going really deep, like it opened up an entire new world. And I really do believe that music is one of the greatest things about being alive.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. And I love that you do that. And again, just thinking about the fact that the pandemic wasn't, I mean, it was long ago, but it wasn't that long, and you've come this far. So it's cool to see the growth in just your own personal journey. So kudos to you for that.
Thank
Last
you.
last question. What does success look like to you?
So success for Free Go Camp will be that we continue to be, a self-sustaining organization that is making a difference in people's lives. there are lots of ways that you can become, be a sustainable organization just by, tearing off parts of yourself and throwing them into the fire, so to speak, to keep the fire going. I don't want to have to do a lot of that stuff. Like, I don't want to have to have, again, no shade of Wikipedia, but I don't want to have to put my face on there like only you can keep us from turning the lights out and like those kinds of alarmist things. Uh, I really do want to just have it be like people appreciate that we're doing things and they support us. Like, there's nothing in our tax exempt mission that would prevent us from having like a membership and having like a free CodeCamp Pro and all that stuff. Like, and I'm aware that like every other programming website is like $25 a month, and you get like access to certain stuff, and there's kind of like an artificial scarcity there, right? There's like a premium version, and I would like for us to not have to go there because there's nothing that stops us from going there, but like it's like we have lots of recourses that we can go to if we can't make this current thing work. So far, we've been very fortunate, very blessed, and we've been able to make it work where we can be self-sustaining just by we get grants from different organizations to create coursework, like and we've created I think more than like 80 courses from grants from like Google and other organizations. And these are not giant grants. It's not like Bill Gates parachuting in, here's $5 million. Like, you hear about those stories with like Khan Academy and stuff like that. We've never had like some giant patron. Closest we've come is actually the CEO of CompTIA gave us like he didn't personally, but CompTIA gave us $250,000, $250,000 because he used freeCodeCamp and he felt it was a really useful learning resource.
Awesome.
So like you do have situations like that, but for the most part, like the way freeCodeCamp is funded is we have 11,326 people who give $5 a month, right? And like, that adds up. It does make a difference. It does keep the servers running, and it does keep the devs and the teachers, eating enough to be able to survive to continue working on freeCodeCamp. So I think success for the organization is just sustainability, but success in terms of what the output looks like is that people just genuinely feel that they don't have to pay to learn if they don't want to. There's nothing wrong with like buying the latest Westboss course or something like that. Like, I think that's totally fine, and he's going to teach in a different way than we're going to teach, and he's going to go way into depth. And there are hundreds, maybe thousands of people in the programming space who can create courses like that. And there's nothing wrong with having like a paid program that's $25 a month. I mean, like the for-profit universities that I was railing against earlier, I mean, they're like literally $50,000 a year and stuff, right? There's a complete like worlds of difference between asking someone to pay $300 a year to use your product and asking someone to go into life-changing amounts of debt for your product, right? So I just want to be clear, but like I do want everyone to have a high-quality alternative, if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. And I love that. And it's, at the end of the day, this community scaled so much. You have a community that supports it. And I think seeing that community, like, contributing and being a part of it is really awesome. And it's a testament to the product you've built. Like, that people keep coming and supporting it and show interest in it and want to help. So, and anybody that wants to help can go over to, again, the contributorfreecodecamp.org/intro. And they can go to freecodecamp. We could donate if we wanted to as well, right here.
Yeah, donate.freecodecamp.org. If you're interested in becoming a monthly recurring donor, if you wanted to give a one-time donation, that's fine.
Awesome.
It's absolutely fine too. But the number one thing like we're looking for, and the metric that I judge the health of the community is how many people are giving each month. So cool. It means a lot to us.
Well, get out there and start donating, and that's it. We hit the hour. This has been super cool. Thank you again to everybody listening. One last thing. Hit us, Quincy.
If you enjoy hearing me talk, I don't talk a whole lot during my podcast interviews, but I do interviews with devs every week, and I encourage you all to check out the podcast. You can listen in Spotify, you can listen in Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, and also there's a YouTube version. Drops every Friday afternoon. These are going to be candid conversations with devs, and it's not going to be a bunch of like marketing and stuff. It's going to be like really, real people talking about their real journeys as devs. And I think you'll enjoy that. So that's one thing that I wanted to
Yeah.
pitch. But
No,
yeah,
awesome. Awesome plug. Good call. Shout out to Ryan, who's a buddy of mine that was most recently on there with you. I'm excited to finish that when I started it the other day. I already know Ryan's story, but I always like hearing him talk to people. So this was great. Thank you again, Quincy. Hang out for a second backstage. I'll get you out of here. But to everybody else, go check out the Torque calendar for any other events coming up this week. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. You know where to find me in the Discord. And again, hit up freeCodeCamp. It's where my journey started, and I know a lot of you as well. So big shout out to Quincy, and we'll see everybody soon. Remember, it's early. It's throwing me off. Remember, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.